And we are live with another edition of the Brownwater Banter Podcast. I am Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
And we have a great show for you today. In the house, we have the French Hermit Oyster Company. They're going to talk to us today all about growing, raising, farming oysters on the backside of Deer Island. So we are super pumped to have them in the studio today. But before we get started, we want to thank our sponsors, the people that help us keep the show going. Our OG sponsor has been with us for a very long time now is Southern Magnolia Smiles. We want to thank Dr. Robbie Williams and all of his friendly staff over there, located in Ocean Springs, right there on Washington Avenue. If you're looking for a great local dentist, please go check them out. You will not be disappointed. They are on all the social platforms at Southern Magnolia Smiles. Check them out on Facebook and Instagram. If you'd like to go to their website, that's southernmagnoliasmiles.com, or hit them up on the landline at 228-215-1202. You will not be disappointed. They're a great group of people over there. Go check them out. Our next sponsor has been with us for just a little bit here this month, Hill Tree Marketing. That's Jesse Hill. He's got a company for if you got a small business or any kind of personal needs where you would need website or graphic design done, social media management, IT services, videography, photography, and aerial cinematography, which is they have a drone and they can capture some really killer drone footage. So if that's something you want to add to your website or your social media stuff, go check them out at hilltreemarketing.com. They're actually going to be redoing our website here in the very near future. So we can't wait to roll that out and let everybody see it, because our website right now looks terrible.
Needs a little help.
Yeah, it looks terrible.
Definitely needs a little help.
So not only are they a sponsor, but they're also somebody that we're using as well.
We're also a client.
That's exactly. I was going to make the pun, but I darted it past it. But so we're super happy to be working with them. And last but definitely not least, we want to thank Trevor Reed for sponsoring the show. He wants to promote the Downtown Ocean Springs Crawfish Cook-Off, which is going to be May 29th this year. Downtown Ocean Springs, like I said, it's their third annual. I went to the first one. I don't believe I made it to the second one, but I know it's a damn.
We'll be at the third one.
We'll be at the third one for sure. It's a damn good time. It's free crawfish. I think you pay an admission fee, but all the people cooking put out all their stuff. You get to try it out, and at the end of the day, they pick a winner. I don't know, beer and crawfish. Big shout out to Jordan and Matthew. That's the name of their apparel line, but crawfish and beer, I should say. But it doesn't get any better than that. So go check them out, man. So now that we got that under our belt, let's talk all things oyster farming. So first, I want to thank y'all for being here today, Mr. Mike and Miss Anita. Is that correct? And y'all also told us that today is your 25th wedding anniversary, and you came here and hung out with us.
That's right.
We are super pumped.
Years.
Yes, we are super pumped about that. So thanks for being in here today. But so what we want to know is like, everybody that owns a boat and goes out on the water, if you go near Deer Island, which is one of our favorite places to go hang out on the weekends, you've probably seen on the south side there all the oyster reefs, right? When did that start, and how did y'all get into it?
Well, it started in 2018. Mississippi Department of Marine Resources is trying to launch this as a new industry. So we have the oysters that grow on the bottom, commercial oystermen harvest these oysters. And so what they're trying to do is have an industry where we raise the oysters off bottom. And there's a lot of benefits. And we were in the first class. Right. So when you finish this class, which teaches you about the biology of the oyster, the techniques for raising the oysters, what you need to do to get a good product, then you're qualified to lease an acre or 2 acres in this area south of Deer Island. And so we were one of the first farmers. We like to call ourselves farmers.
Yes, we were talking about that before.
We didn't know what the term was.
Well, on the East Coast, they call themselves growers.
Okay. Farmer sounds cooler to me.
Yeah, farmer. You compare yourself with a dirt farmer, and they have to buy seed. We buy seed, but they have to fertilize and
pray for rain.
Yeah, and feed the
or
plants.
No rain.
Yeah. But the beauty of oysters is that they eat phytoplankton, which is there naturally. And the fact that it's phytoplankton is a higher concentration near the surface because it's getting its energy from the sun, then these oysters that we grow near the surface are growing faster. And we can take some to market after 10, 11 months.
Really?
So whereas the the commercial oysters that grow on the bottom take about 3 years before they're a legal size of 3 inches.
That's right.
But
Wow.
Now,
Go ahead, Jay.
was this a BP fund? Was this something that came off of BP when DMR started this?
It was,
It was funded by the Restoration Act money.
Okay.
Yeah, and
That's
that's how it got started.
All right. And all the funds and all the, I guess, the leases and all that came through this grant as well, right?
Well, but at least portions of it, the training, the setting up of the facility, the park south of Deer Island, and then getting everybody started. But, the farmers have invested their own capital. So we're not
Okay.
funded by the restoration funds any longer. Once we graduated from the class, we had to buy our own cages. We had to lease our own lease from the state. We had to buy our own baby oysters and, have a boat. And so
Right.
we go out there. And so we've got a sizable capital investment. But that was a great way to get us started and trained, because you
Right.
could go out there and spend years making mistakes if you don't have a good, solid foundation, which is what the DMR provided all the farmers with.
we even thought, we got jobs in marine construction, and we heard about this program and said, well, that's very interesting. I'd like to learn more about that, but I don't want to take one of the 20 spots that they have in a class away from somebody who might be a serious farmer, because I didn't really think, I was going to be a serious farmer.
We thought it
But-
might be a hobby,
Yeah.
an expensive hobby.
It's funny how hobbies turn into real expensive stuff.
Is this your hobby?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Buy
And
a
it
boat,
gets-
go fishing,
Yeah.
farm oysters, do a podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
So the director over there of the program said, "Don't worry about that. We haven't got 20 people signed up. You take the class. You don't have to feel committed to become a farmer." But we were in a good position because of our other business. We had the boat, we had the people, and so we were able to learn this business and work it fairly easily without buying a whole lot of
A
stuff.
whole lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
we
You
didn't
had a
have-
bunch of it, right?
Yeah, we have a new boat now, but we had the boat, the best boat, the Carolina skiff for going out to work
Right.
the farm because we had it for the contracting business. So our entry point, our dollars were lower. It was not quite the reach. We still have a lot of cages out there that we have to clean the barnacles off.
Yeah, for
Well,
sure.
I told you this was new to Mississippi, off bottom oyster farming, but it's not new in the world. It's done in all kind of countries, on the East Coast, and the West Coast, and Florida, Alabama, and I think we might be the last state in the Gulf to start.
We
But-
usually are,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
unfortunately, that's a
Darn.
theme with us. I
DMR
hate that.
did a great job of putting together a team. We had professors from University of South Alabama that would teach us, and we had field trips, and we did hands-on when they have a training area out there. So it was very interesting to learn it, and we dove right in. And
I
We-
still thought it was going to be a hobby,
Yeah.
even up until the point where we were starting to harvest some small oysters. Mike brought them home, and I tasted them, and I said, "These are the best oysters I've ever eaten. This isn't a hobby; it's a business." So
Yeah,
Oh,
I've
wow.
heard they're delicious.
they are,
And they're
delicious.
perfect size.
They
too.
are the perfect size.
Yeah.
They're not those big old slippery long oysters. These are all almost uniform, 3 inches long, 2 inches wide, an inch deep.
Wow. Did they talk to you about that in the class? I mean, is there been studies done that show that because they grow on top of the water that there is a difference in quality? I mean, is there some science behind that other than just you tasting them and seeing them?
Well, we're out there cleaning them and sorting them all the time. So
Okay.
I think that's really where they get so nice and clean and
Okay.
they look uniform. We have a process that we were taught, and that's to go out and defoul them, make sure they're nice and clean, that they're not getting a bunch of barnacles on them, that they don't pick up a lot of antifouling, and then they start to grow. We split them. Mike's team splits them and puts them into bags with fewer oysters. And when you have a little tiny oyster, you can put thousands and
Bunch.
thousands of there in one bag. But when you have big market size oysters, it's about 250 per bag that you could put in there, and they grow. And when you got a bunch of them kind of packed up together, you'd be surprised how fast they start to grow. So you
I
have
bet.
to go out there and tend them, which is what we do.
So y'all had no prior experience with farming oysters whatsoever until you took this class. Is that correct?
All right,
correct.
we had zero. I mean, Mike had a tonging license.
Right. So you're a little
yeah.
familiar with
How to eat oysters.
how to well, I think everybody does.
Just
How
not
to
growing
open
them, huh?
But
how to eat them.
yeah, how to harvest them naturally, to tonging them up,
Right.
and that's some backbreaking hard work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you take this class, and how long was the class? I don't know if you mentioned that and I missed it or not.
It was a Saturday, maybe 5 Saturdays,
Okay.
and then maybe a couple of tech programs where they had a speaker come in to talk about the cages that were available.
Mhm.
But it wasn't real long.
And it didn't have to be, because during the after the first few sessions, we actually were given about 12,500 oysters to raise ourselves and on the training area.
Okay.
So we better go out there and do our own work. They weren't going out there and hand holding, us 20 farmers to teach us. We had to go out and tumble our own oysters,
Right.
split them, and do the work. So we were learning as we were attending the class. So it wasn't just a Saturday. There was work that was going on.
Yeah, hands on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these things start off as little bitty,
They're
tiny
babies.
things,
They're
right?
called seed, but they're just baby oysters that are about 1/4 of an inch tall.
And I
So-
have actually a picture of that we got
Yeah.
off of your Facebook page.
Oh,
I'll flash that on the screen. So I'm showing the one of you, someone's hand holding all the tiny seeds,
Yeah.
as you call them.
Yeah, seed.
When we buy them, we buy them as R6,
Okay.
and that has to do with the size. It could be retained by a 6 millimeter mesh
Okay.
bag.
Okay.
So we have some bags that are 4.5 millimeters, and that's what we start them out in. But
Does that look like a crawfish bag or a burlap sack? What does that
it's
look
a
like?
rectangular. I think you'll see a picture of that when Anita's pulling it out of the cage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get to that photo,
Okay.
though, let's. I want to show the. I think it's. So how long are they in that seedling stage? Sure, it varies.
As soon as we put them in the water, they start to grow.
Okay.
And typically we put the bag held vertically about 25% full. And then when we get the cage horizontal, we spread them out so they have room to grow. We pick them out 2 weeks later, and now it's not 25% full, it's 50% full.
Okay.
Wow.
So we dump them out and we go back to 25% full. This is one of the farming tasks of splitting them, giving them room to grow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you handle them, you kind of scrub them a little bit. So
And you make sure all the little critters that are in there aren't growing along with them. Like they get a lot of blue crabs
Yeah.
that float in,
Yeah.
a lot of stone crabs. You wouldn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Didn't know we had such a stone crab population here. But-
okay, so off bottom says we're going to keep these oysters away from some of the predators that devastate the reefs, like the conch.
Mm-hmm.
It's an oyster drill. Can't swim. But we found them in our bags with the oysters. They said, how can that be? He said, well, they spawn.
Yeah.
They're in the larva stage. They hatch out in some environment that is good for them. And so they
It just all goes into the
hatched
bag.
out in those bags.
Wow.
Those things are so
How does
productive.
that happen?
Yeah.
You know,
Nature-
crabs.
Yeah, nature finds a
Fish,
way to
you-
get
Yeah.
to
For
get
sure.
what it wants. Yeah. So here I'm going to show the other the I'm assuming this is like one stage up, right? They're a little bit bigger here.
Yeah.
So this kind of just shows the progression of at least the picture of the oyster here at the bottom. There's looks like two. This photo may be from something else, but we're going to focus
Yeah,
here
that's
on
the
the oyster
bags
itself.
right there.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about up here. But so it's a bigger stage of the oyster. As you're describing, they continue to grow. And then you have them, and this is the cage you were describing. I'll flash that picture here now. This is it's like a black kind of mesh.
Right.
Almost looks like a vertical crab trap.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just smashed
Yeah.
down, right? It's
With
not as
pontoons. It's got big plastic
Yes.
black pontoons on there.
Yep, and this is you pulling up the cage here.
Yeah.
It's about, I would say, almost 25% full here.
Right.
What would this be? You cleaning them at this point, or are we
That's-
just assessing the size?
That's a bag that's in the cage, and the cage will hold 6 of those bags.
Okay.
So we may have been harvesting, but typically you pull them out, dump them out, and put them back in clean bags.
Yeah.
Correct.
So the marine fouling is unbelievable. I mean, the algae and the barnacles. The barnacles are spawning and they setting and they just little barnacles all over everything.
Right.
So by putting these oysters in a clean bag, we get them away from those barnacles. And so that's another task is, to keep them clean.
Right.
There'll be barnacles that attach to the oysters themselves. So we use a tumbler about once every 2 months. When the oyster gets a little bigger, we put the oyster through a tumbler, and it breaks the little barnacles off.
Yeah, I've actually seen that. It almost looks like a concrete
Yeah.
mixer.
Yeah.
We just throw them in there.
It's an aluminum tube with holes in it, and then it breaks those bills too at the same time. So what we're looking for, what the chefs want, is a flat top oyster and then a deep cup, and then you take the top off when you shuck the oyster, and it's in its own little dish.
Right.
And that's what
And
they want.
A perfect oyster for y'all, I guess, is a single, no cluster,
Oh yeah, no.
3-inch fat butterball oyster, right?
Yeah, the doubles we eat. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we get a double. What you do in spawns, you end up with, oysters that are stuck together. We eat those ourselves. We sell the good ones.
which is a good problem
They
to have, right?
taste
Right.
delicious too. So
Here's another interesting thing about buying these seed from a hatchery. The science is way advanced to what it used to be. And so they can actually, what you buy is a triploid. It's been manipulated so that this oyster is not going to spawn. It grows.
it puts all its energy
Into growing.
and tasting good.
So
That's an oyster that I like.
Yeah, it gave one for the team.
Yeah. So in nature,
Not going to have any babies.
so in
Just going to
nature,
focus on me.
oysters spawn when the water gets warm, like
Right.
80 degrees. And when they spawn, the meat quality is diminished. You know the old saying, you don't eat oysters in the summer months.
Correct.
Well, that's one of the reasons, because they have
Yeah, they're poor.
spawn.
Yeah.
They spawned out. So these triploids give us opportunity to harvest year round.
Okay.
And they stay
With
so
the same
fat.
meat quality.
They just they fill up every little crevice of the shell. They're just fat.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real good thing to have more availability, more times that you can harvest these things. Is there a season when it comes to farming as far as when you're allowed to harvest? Is this a year-round operation if you can put in the work? How does that work?
This area south of Deer Island is called 5A approved. And every other area that you take oysters from is usually conditionally approved. So they monitor the water. The Pearl River is in a flood stage. They close the reefs.
Right.
But Deer Island area is got a long history of high quality water, and it's always open, save a
Except today.
catastrophic event.
But
Like
the
red
salinity
tide.
gets y'all, right?
Yeah.
You got to have the salinity up. The more
That's
rain
right.
we have,
Right.
the
Which
worse
is
it
what we
is.
just
Yeah.
been
Well, the
through.
oysters can tolerate low salinity. Matter of fact, the food that they get, the nutrients that feed the phytoplankton, that feed the oysters, is associated with fresh water. You have to have fresh water for them to have the food. But we eat them. Everybody likes to eat them raw,
Yeah.
and they're a little salty.
Right.
Yeah.
So we typically watch the salinity and know that anything 12 parts and over, when full marine is 35. The Mississippi Sound, is a big mixing bowl of the fresh water and the salt water. And but the Bonnie Carrot spillway that killed oysters, the salinity got to 0 for about a week, and the oysters can't take that. So
So that affected y'all as well.
Yep.
That was that far up.
It killed
Didn't-
killed all of our crop of oysters.
Didn't they move some of those oysters though? Weren't some of them transplanted to Mobile, if I
So-
read right?
We had some seed. We had a lot of the farmers had seed, and we were able. They didn't die right away. We were able to take that seed and move it over to Bayou La Battery.
Okay.
They had cages that were already in the water that we could just pop
Yeah.
our bags into. So we went over to Bayou La Battery until the water got right and worked them. That's how
So
we
it
did
was
it.
because the seed were small and it was practical to take the whole bunch,
Right.
in one trip. The older oysters, you just can't carry that many that
Yeah.
far.
And they're
So,
heavy.
They
They start
just-
to get really heavy. 250 weighs it's about as much as I can lift, and get more than that, and I'm out.
So they just got sacrificed, and you brought the young ones over to Bayou Battery and started back over. I guess the Bonnie Carey and hurricanes are pretty much y'all's worst enemy, right?
Hurricanes take the cages, and if you don't do something with them, it'll break them loose. This hurricane we had in October called Zeta, I found 4 of my cages on Front Beach, Ocean Springs.
Wow.
I have names on them. I got phone calls. I went and got them. Oysters were okay. We brought them back and put them back on there. But the route that they had to take meant they went across Deer Island. So, that storm.
Water was pretty high.
That storm was late in the season, and we was just tired of the precautions that we took, and we left them on the surface, and as a result,
it turned. The storm turned and kind of came in when we weren't expecting it. So Mike and his team had sunk those cages already twice and brought them back up this past year. So this would have been the 3rd time, and so looking at the prediction, we're a community of farmers. We all farm so close together that when I'm in one boat and another farmer's in another boat, you can say hi,
Right.
And so we all are texting each other saying, what are you going to do? You're going to seek your cages, you're going to leave them. And so it's kind of a group brain gets together and has that conversation.
The cages, which we use, are Oyster Grow cages, and they hold 6 bags, but they have 2 floats on them, and they have screw caps on both ends. So it's by design. You could take the cap off and sink fill it up with water and let the cage go to the bottom.
Okay.
Theoretically, it's safer down there.
Correct, because you're not getting hit.
So we want the pontoons down and the oysters on top of that. And so the risk is if have turbulence, when the storm comes, it might turn the cage over
and bury it. Yeah.
And so then the oysters are in the sediment, and they can't stay that way very long.
Okay, I've got a picture of that young gentleman standing on top of the 2 pontoons here.
Yeah.
He works for y'all,
That's
right?
Mikey Barlow. Yeah.
Mikey Barlow.
Okay.
He's
so you
fabulous.
can see this is what they're describing, and for the people listening on the audio podcast, it's pretty much 2 pontoons floating on top of a device that can hold 6 of the smaller cages that you're talking about. And these 6 cages, if you had me describe it, like Joey said, it looks like a crab trap. You just smush down real flat. It's not as wide, so it's a lot longer than it is deep, right? And that's what holds these oysters in. Right. And so y'all can sink these in a time of need. So that's pretty cool. I forgot what I was going to say though about the.
He was going to talk about how Mikey Barlow has such agility that he can climb up.
That he could do that without falling.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
He must surf
Deer
a little
Island.
bit. Yeah.
No, what I was actually going to say was, how are y'all to max capacity out there with the amount of no? So there's room for more people if you're.
We lost some farmers after Zeta. We got farmers that just lost everything, and so they're not coming back.
Okay.
And then we're selling more oysters, and it's not just Mike and I. That's the cool thing about this. Mike and I started this. We're in the autumn of our years, I suppose, and this is a young man's sport. Certainly,
Yes.
a lot of it raising oysters. It's backbreaking work, and so we partnered with a lot of other farmers out there, and we do the marketing, and then we share
so
orders.
smart.
Yeah,
So
so
smart.
Yeah.
so
smart.
if Mike's out there working on a construction project and one of the other farmers can harvest, then they harvest that day. And so we split up all the orders. But what's cool about it is you don't ever, it helps our chefs and our restaurants have a steady supply. That supply chain works. But otherwise, you have a farmer that's got boat troubles or something else.
Yeah,
and,
always.
You would not be able to make it work in our minds successfully without having this kind of collective of
Right.
farmers.
So
Now-
a little more info on that side of it. So I'm assuming, do you have oysters in each stage of the development, or do you start?
do.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
So how does that work on the demand end? So if I'm a chef here, I'm assuming y'all sell to as much local as you can, right? Or is it all local right now?
We don't sell very much local.
Really?
And
Okay.
the reason is there are farmers who do sell locally. So rather than sell a bunch in this market and compete and drive the price point down,
Okay.
what we do is we work with some distributors that take them out of the area. So we have a lot of our oysters go to New Orleans for distribution. They go up, up to Tennessee and Memphis, and they
Right.
go over to Atlanta and Birmingham, and
That's the bulk of your business.
yeah, that's the bulk of our business, and
Okay.
that's what that's what our farmers like too. So
If we wanted your product here locally, could we
Yeah.
get it? Can we
Yeah.
buy direct from you?
yeah, you better to buy from quality. So we work with quality
Okay.
seafood.
Okay.
They keep them every week that we can harvest, and then. White Pillars always carries them. We worked with Chef Austin Summerall over there.
I'm
To
hearing
kind of,
so many good things about White Pillars and that
White
chef specifically.
Pillars.
We got to get him in here.
well, IP carries them. The Thorny Oyster over in Bay St. Louis usually has them every week.
Okay.
Alex Perry over in Ocean Springs. So we keep a few
Right.
that we work with, and they do such a wonderful job of putting out the name, French Hermit. So we really like working with them, but we don't want to trample on everybody else's business that's trying to sell oysters and not be part of French Hermit. They still need some market. So.
Well, speaking of the name, there's a funny story behind that, right? Because if you're from here and you
we
know,
don't have to explain it.
Yeah,
if you're
that's
around
right.
here, you don't know how to explain it. But if you know where Deer Island is and you're from Biloxi, there was a hermit that lived out there, correct?
There was a hermit of Deer Island. And he was on a postcard. You probably got a picture of him there.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up while
Yeah.
you're talking. Go ahead.
I had to grow a beard and took a picture. My picture.
You
and his
kinda look
picture
like him a
side
little
by
bit.
side.
Yeah,
you
so we
kinda
got
look
we
like
got
a
his
little
photo up here, and then I'm gonna move it down. And you're getting there. You're a little more manicured
Yeah,
than
I see
he
I
the
know
was.
that's what
resemblance.
I was thinking.
Oh, the
too. Mike's a
hermit.
little cleaned up.
Yeah.
The hermit of Deer Island lived before my time. Really, I didn't never know him, but I know some guys that did. And he lived on Deer Island, and he raised oysters. And he had a reef, and he coveted this reef. And I remember my uncle Dennis telling me one time, we're going to go coon some oysters over here, but we got to be careful at the hermit's reef, and he catches us, he might shoot at us.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
he wasn't playing.
so that's where we got the name for our oysters. And
So our family was having a brainstorming session. What are we going to call
Oh, that
ourselves?
was-
We're going to call ourselves. And we had run through a bunch of names. And then all at once, Mike was telling the story about French Hermit. And we go, that's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. That's it.
Yeah.
Eureka.
We'll take it.
So I'm going to put up the other photo here of the finished product. This is you holding up the oyster so people can see what it looks like. And you described it well. Perfect shape, perfect size. It looks beautiful. And you described before we went live here, the photo, you were using some skin. What was it? Tell us what it was.
My dermatologist had prescribed a cream that you use twice a day for 2 weeks, and she says you're going to hate me for this, but it takes care of those things that might become cancer,
Right.
Right.
and it does it by burning a layer of skin off, I guess.
Yeah.
And so that's like a sunburn,
Yeah.
I was
So-
really
So you're actually taking care of your skin in that
Yeah.
photo.
Yeah,
So
that's
it may
right.
look otherwise.
So
but
wear
you
your
are.
sunscreen.
That's right, because that just goes to show and proves our point, like we mentioned earlier. I mean, oyster, the traditional way, and I'm assuming what y'all are doing as well, is not easy work. It's
Mhm.
backbreaking work,
It's hard.
and you're in the sun when
and,
you do it.
And you're in the rain some days. You're in the sun some days. You're in the waves some days. I mean, Mike's looking at me because he knows I don't get out there as often as he does. He
Right.
does all the heavy lift.
Absolutely.
I want to say this about Anita. Her strength is in marketing. She's been working in marketing, and she has built this brand and worked with the distributors, and they go to 5 different states,
7.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
That's why she's. That's
why
it's her
she's the
game.
marketing.
That's
That's
her
why she's
game.
marketing right there.
So we have ramped up our production, our orders to almost 6,000 a week, and we sell them by the piece, which we harvest in 100-count sacks.
Oh, and I got that right here. Boom!
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that
Oh,
on
there
there.
it is, right
I
there.
love your logo. It looks amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Those. Matter of fact, I'm wishing we had a couple sacks of those in here right now. We
I know,
could
me
just
too.
start tearing into them. So.
I have chefs right now texting me saying, "When are you? I'm not going to get those oysters. When are you going to open it back up again?"
And
Yeah.
that was the thing I was going to ask earlier too. So even though you do out of state, and you mentioned all the local businesses, so please go check those people, check them out to get the product if you want to taste it yourself. But the out of town people, did they contact you directly? I mean, it's just a
No.
simple no.
Now, I interface with our chefs through social media. And so what happens is our chefs will order through a distributor,
Okay,
and we use Inland and Evans, and they all go through quality. So they'll contact, Evans will say, here's my list of oysters, and the chefs will order them. And then I will text into the chefs, or the chefs or post something, and the chefs will post back. So normally every week when we're shipping oysters, I put a list of where you can find oysters. So my distributors will tell me where they sold, who bought my oysters, who bought our French Hermit oysters, and then we'll put that out to the public so that they can go to those places and enjoy French Hermit oysters.
That's super cool.
And
And then quality puts them on a truck and send them wherever
quality
they go.
is fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just such great partners, and they sell oysters locally. We appreciate that, and they carry them in the front of house for us too, so you can go in there and get them.
How
So
many
it's
oysters
awesome.
did you say y'all are getting rid of selling a week here?
6,000 is what the French Hermit orders have gotten to. Now, I can't go harvest that many. So this is where these other farmers, we've formed a collective.
Okay.
And we've reached out, and Anita communicates the orders, and they are eager to participate because they tell me, I don't want to peddle oysters.
Right.
I want to
Right.
grow them. I want to grow them.
Right.
And everybody does this. They say, oh, I want to buy a sack of oysters. I got a list of 10 people that want a sack, and I got them for them, and I'm coming in. I have to get rid of them at the ramp. Oh, I can't make it there right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
They just
Five
don't.
people don't show
Yeah.
up.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's,
So
it's
they-
Same old
harder
story.
selling to individuals
Right.
for sure, but they are good. And then 6,000, like Mike said, it's just the beginning. I mean, so we haven't really had a lot of history to see what the possibilities are because we're always strapped either by a storm or COVID or Bonnie Carey spillway. So this is just
You got to
the
be
tip
tough
of-
down
yeah.
here, right?
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
you
the
do.
this whole region is like,
You get knocked around pretty
But
good.
you get back up. You
That's
got to
right.
get back up.
yep. We used to be the seafood capital of the world, right? Well, not too long ago, the 50s, 60s, something like that.
Biloxi
We held
was,
that
yeah.
title, yeah. So it's good to see that this, this specific industry is taking some new science and a new approach to some old tricks, right?
That's right. It really is.
Yeah. What's the plan for y'all moving forward? What's your eye? What's the prize?
My eye is be shipping as much as our competitor.
Okay. Don't say any
So
names.
I got-
Let's just
Yeah,
leave
we're
it
not
there.
gonna bring 'em
Yeah,
in.
let's
Yeah.
not,
I got
let's
'em
not
in
say
my
any names.
sights.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I like it. You're fierce. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So to overtake them and keep doing what you're doing, put out
That's
the product
right.
that you're putting out. Y'all sell merchandise too, as well, don't you?
We
I've seen
do.
some
We
shirts.
sell some shirts. Our marketing branding company up in Memphis created some T-shirts for us, and so we sell those. And it's funny. We'll be out in public. Mike and I were doing a presentation in Ocean Springs during the garden festival, and we're talking about oysters and French Hermit, and this guy out of the blue just walks up, passes us, and he's wearing that blue French Hermit T-shirt.
Yeah,
it's
and
cool,
we're like,
isn't it?
Hey, dude.
Yeah.
You wear my
There
stuff.
you got. There you are.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you'd like to talk about? Anything that we didn't bring up, a topic or anything about farming these oysters that we're not aware of and people should know about?
Well, I know that there are a lot of people that might be watching this because they want to do it.
There
Yeah.
you go.
You wanted to do it.
Absolutely. Until I figured out how much work it was.
Yep.
Actually, that was one more question. About how many times a week do you have to actually physically get out there with those oysters?
I could go one time a week with the size farm that we have. We're not a very big farm, and
The more oysters you have out
The
there,
more work, I'm sure.
visits you need to make.
Right.
So you could spend every day out there. Like we have one of our farmers that has ordered 3 million seed.
Ooh.
Wow.
So
Good luck to him,
That's going
huh?
to be a lot of oysters.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
right.
What did you have a guesstimation, or you might know the precise number of how many farmers are out there right now currently?
Mike might have the best idea.
there's probably maybe 7 still active.
Okay.
Out of 20.
Wow.
So you had some that never really got going,
Right.
because it's hard work, and then the Bonnie Carey spillway, so you have to bounce back after that. So
But this storm, we have a class that the DMR was teaching, and they had oysters in the training area. Well, the storm tore up the cages, and so they had to do a lot of work to get that back together.
Mm-hmm.
But
they do have some new farmers that are just wrapping up that class and are about to come into their leases. So they'll be leasing and setting up, buying their equipment, starting their seed. And so we're recruiting in essence.
Right. Because that's going to help y'all out in the long run.
That's
That's
was.
right. Well,
what we plan to do is, be farmers, raise oysters, buy the seed, raise them to market size, and sell them. Some of the others are wanting to vertically integrate. He's saying, I'm going to open up a nursery, or I'm going to have an upweller where he buys the little tiny oysters and raises them for a time, and then sells them to the farmers as seed.
Okay, yeah.
So, which might be a good
Subbing it out.
business,
Business model,
because
it
we
might
pay
work, yeah.
2.5 cents a piece, and for these little baby oysters, and we really don't have anybody in Mississippi that's supplying seed. We have to buy them from Alabama, and so
Louisiana.
the need for seed is always a concern. You can't grow an oyster
Without-
farm if you
Right.
can't get the seed.
So if you got all the seeds,
That's right.
you
That's right.
kind of controlling the market there a little bit, right?
That's right.
That's
And Mike was talking about how long it takes to grow them, and it's funny because you'll get a batch of seed, and you'll have, we call them runts and racehorses. You have racehorses, which are ready for the market first, so they're outpacing everything in the sack, and then we have runts, which never get very big for some reason. They always stay kind of undersized. And it could be, 16 months old, and they're still too little to sell. So we eat them too.
Awesome.
Yeah, good,
All right,
good, a good problem to have. Like we
What
said
was
earlier.
the legal size for an oyster? harvest?
3-inch.
3-inch.
It
But-
was.
But in this business, there's no size limit.
Yeah, because it's yours, right? You raised
All right.
it.
Well, it's because in the other business, they want those oysters to reach maturity and spawn, and they know they don't do that until they're 3 inches. So since we're raising oysters that are not going to spawn,
Gotcha. So it's not going to happen no matter
we
what.
bought them.
That's right.
Right.
Then, so they say there's no size limit. What's going to regulate the size?
Who wants to buy
customer,
them?
The
right?
chefs,
Yeah, who wants to
the
buy
chefs.
it?
The market.
Yeah.
The market.
Absolutely.
And they talk about, a size 3-2-1. That's 3 inches long, 2 inches wide, and 1 inch high.
Mm-hmm.
This is a buzzword for the market size.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. I like that.
And but
That's
they,
the perfect
they
oyster.
have some that grow faster than others. So this tumbler that we put them in, not only for breaking the bills and cleaning them, we have holes that are 2 inches. And so when the oyster passes all the way through this drum,
Mhm.
those are the babies that are ready to sell. So,
Ah.
and it gives you a uniform batch.
Right.
And that's important, to supply that customer with.
Right. So your 100 count sack, every one of them is going to be 3 inches, and every one of them is going to be 2 inches, depending on how you sell it.
They
Right.
look like they came from the same mom and daddy.
Right. Just a cookie cutter cutout of.
right.
Are the people who are not farming these, the people that are just doing it the old school way, are they supportive? Have they felt like this is
Well,
not unfair competition,
we're
but they
all
don't like
in the
it?
same boat in some way, in some respects or another. So a lot of that on bottom farming takes place in Louisiana,
Uh-huh.
and the Bonnie Carey spillway affected them
Yeah.
terribly too.
That's
so
right.
where at least we could move some of our inventory, all of theirs is sitting down there on the bottom. So we commiserate over the same things. We have same water quality issues. We all face hurricanes.
Okay.
So in that respect, we're all one family.
Yeah, I think the DMR kind of intended for this new program to be offered and for some of the commercial oystermen to
Take part in it.
take part in it.
Has that happened to your knowledge?
I have seen some come and go, but I think it's a different kind of people that do this oyster farming. You might have couples like ourselves,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we've got several couples that work
lawyers,
together.
and
Well,
doctors.
You got the muscle and the brains
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
got it, for sure.
you definitely have
I don't
to.
know. This is pretty brainy over
Yeah.
here.
You have to have people with a little extra money to
Yeah.
invest in this.
Yeah.
But it's such a romance about it. Everybody that does it, they just love, that they're raising these things that are so sought after.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a popular item down here for sure. And I
Yeah.
know surrounding regions, and we've talked about it before. I love to see our culture move out through neighboring states and stuff, but I always get a little worried that,
Bring it back.
the demand gets so high and then it gets harder and harder for the local people to get
Right.
it. So,
Which would be a good thing for y'all.
yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
we'll always work with our select group of chefs that are, just we have this special relationship with. So
Now, here's an interesting thing that, we know that our customer, the chefs, end users, they want a certain size oyster.
Mhm.
And there are some that would be too big. If you happen to something got away from you. These we didn't harvest, and we got a batch that are too big.
The racehorses took off.
You know,
Yeah.
the Biloxi people say, what do you mean too big?
Yeah, there's no such thing. We'll take them.
And so I sell some to the locals. I say, I'm going to give you a good deal on these.
Yeah.
See, these are kind of too big. He said, not for me. They're not too big.
Yeah.
You put on a
And,
cracker and some hot sauce,
but
you're good.
these are kind of our rejects, and I sell them to my friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, now I'm envisioning like a oyster festival where we see who can get the biggest one grown from the.
I think
thing,
we've
you know?
got some of those right
Yeah.
now. So we
Yeah.
delivered some to Chef Austin in a sack and said, "Can you do anything with these? Because we've got away." And he's like,
Well,
"These are too big."
Yeah.
all the local guys that like them big are guys.
Right.
All the girls that eat oysters.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they-
it's that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll try one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bigger ones usually don't taste quite as good as those perfect size ones.
They
like
make
that.
perfect roasting oysters.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
'cause they're
are
gonna
shrink up, right?
Yeah, no, they don't shrink much, but they do get some smaller.
Yeah.
Well,
Charbroil them.
we where can we send people that have that are tuned in right now and they're listening to us on the podcast? Where can they go if they want to check you out? Is Facebook the best place?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and then our website, FrenchHermit.co. And then anytime you want to get your hand on some oysters so that you can open them, go to Quality.
Perfect.
And-
right
and
down
ask
there in
for them.
Biloxi,
That's
downtown.
right.
Yep.
Talk
Go
to Jim Gunkel and all those folks, all those wonderful folks over there at Quality.
Yeah.
They take good care of you when you walk in.
Yeah, they have a lot of good product
Yeah.
over there too.
Yeah, they do.
So-
And your merch is on your website? Is
It
it anywhere
is.
local?
Nope. Just
Okay,
on the
just
website.
on the website. Okay.
Yeah.
so
Can
order.
barely keep up with it.
I hear you.
So-
I bet. So
Speaking of merchandise, I see some shirts. I hope you got one my size.
yeah, we
check
might
it
have
out.
a
We might
few,
we
yeah.
might can make some.
Okay.
So congratulations on that again.
Yes.
People go check them out, man. Go try the product. Let us know what you think. Drop us some comments below. It's such a great thing to have here locally, and we appreciate what y'all are doing. So
Thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us. We had a great time.
Hope you all have a good anniversary
Good
dinner.
anniversary off
Yeah.
to a good start.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we
All
go.
right.
All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see y'all on the next one.
See you later.